Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Patricia Raskin Show on Positive Living, right here on Voice America Media, America's Voice. We've been on the air on this network 24 years, and I've been on many other networks on radio and TV and internet and podcasts, but I've stayed with Voice America Media. And this is the program that shows you how to turn your problems into solutions and your obstacles into opportunities and make your dreams come true. And I believed in that for many decades and still do, and still talking about it when people really want to hear about it now, more than ever before. And today we're talking about our finances because that's such an important piece. We have a lot of basic needs in our life, and one of them is the need for security and stability. Another one is the need for connection. Another one is the need to feel worthy. But the need to feel secure and the need to feel safe is absolutely a core need. And that's really what we're going to talk about today with a tremendous expert. His name is Mike Milligan. He is an author and a certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial, a firm dedicated to helping pre-retirees and new retirees build unique financial futures. He has over 25 years of experience and challenges Wall Street's one-size-fits-all approach by making these complex financial planning simple and focused, looking at return on investment. His journey began at the age of 11 as his grandmother's CFO, where he counted collared sandwich money from coffee cans. After witnessing pitfalls of traditional financial planning during market downturns and his brother Jonathan's passing, he solidified his mission to be different and help others lead their unique lives. Welcome, Mike.
So good to be here, Patricia.
Yeah, it's quite a story. So you started really, really young. You know, your
Uh,
grandmother did you a great favor. A lot of grandmothers and parents don't teach their children about financial planning or saving.
well, the truth is that my grandmother taught me because there was not a lot of other options. Right? She had to innovate through desperation because the love of her life, my grandfather Walter, had gotten cancer. He could no longer work, and with him out of work as the sole breadwinner for the family, she had to find a way to create income. And the things that she knew how to do best was be a wife, and she knew how to cook. And so she was a great wife to him, even though he passed away a little bit after his diagnosis. But she was a great cook. And the people of our little small town in North Carolina knew that. And she started making these collared sandwiches, and we hustled. We went out to job sites where construction workers were working. We went to schools and convenience stores to sell like what she made for the day. And I remember after we were done for the day, we would always make one stop, 1 or 2 days a week, and it was to Bell Atlantic to pay the phone bill, or to pay Duke Energy the energy bill, or to go pay the cable bill, because back then, you still actually went somewhere to pay the bill. You didn't you didn't, it wasn't automated. And then we would, when we were done with that, we would count the money at the end of the day, every penny and nickel and dime, every dollar. She didn't trust banks because she was a product of the Great Depression. So we did store that money in Folger coffee cans, and we stored the big bills in tin foil that she would put in the freezer. But on that tin foil, she would take a Sharpie. I still remember this, and she would write liver across it. And I always say, Granny, why do you write liver across that tin foil? She said, because if we ever got robbed, nobody's going to steal the liver.
Mm.
So
Oh, wow. What a
just
story.
wisdom, just wisdom. She
What
was
a
a she just taught me so much wisdom. Like, we have these coaches in our life that, and I run an 8-figure financial services company now. And the greatest life coach, the greatest business coach I have is my grandmother,
Hmm.
right? From when I was a teenager, and before I
Wow.
even got trained into college.
So, Mike, what did she teach you? I mean, these stories are great. What did she teach you that you've carried over even now?
So I still glean lessons from what I learned from her. And one of the first lessons that even when I eventually got out of college and I went into Wall Street American finance, where I worked at big banks and insurance companies, is I learned by working there. I learned that people's stories got lost in systems. Their dreams were dashed because those companies cared about profit over people. And what I learned when I would look back at my grandmother, what she did is she loved people. I mean, she was making food like she would make for Walter, her husband, or for her 5 kids and 14 grandkids. She made the same exact food with the same exact love. She didn't cut corners. She didn't dumb down the product. She didn't say, "Well, this is not ours, so we don't have to be as precise with the
Mhm.
measurements." She made the same thing. She made it with love. And then through that love, I mean, people were buying collard sandwiches from her, Patricia, for $5 at a time when you could buy a Big Mac at McDonald's for $1.
Really?
Yeah, and so like I never really thought about that until I got into business for myself. Is how in the world did she survive at a time when things were, tight? And what I realized is I thought about like all those $5 bills we were getting and how we would take that $5 bill and we would then go over to get a Big Mac afterwards and still get change back. She sold love. That's one of the biggest lessons she taught me. She cared for people. It wasn't about profit for her, although she was profiting. She was making a living. It wasn't all
Well,
about
Mike, I
profit.
want to say $5 for a sandwich in those days was a lot of money.
It was a whole lot of money. It was a whole lot of money. But listen, Patricia, I can't. I mean, when you hear the word collard sandwich, it doesn't sound appetizing, but it is to a Southern American. The taste of collard greens between some fried cornbread is like home. It's a
Yeah,
it's a it's a comfort
yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
And I mean, she wasn't selling it to the same person. She was making sure.
We're having trouble with your sound,
Just
Mike.
noticed.
Something happened.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to break for a minute, everybody. And when we come back, we'll fix our sound issue. We're talking to Mike Milligan, and he is an author and certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial. And he's helping people find their unique financial futures. And we're hearing some heartwarming stories about his childhood and how he learned lessons about money. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. We are back. You are listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamericamedia.com. And we're talking to the very engaging and interesting and compelling Mike Milligan, who is an author and certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial, a firm dedicated to helping pre-retirees and new retirees build unique financial futures. And in the first segment, he was telling us where he learned so much of these principles and philosophy from his grandmother on her kitchen table. And Mike, let's continue that part because we were talking about how the price of her product was expensive in those days, but she was able to sell it.
Yeah, because the even though she was getting a premium price for her product, it was a treat for people. It,
Mm,
it was not a it was not an everyday
yeah,
occurrence. It was not
yeah.
a routine meal that she was selling. And so her client base was very diverse. She
Mm,
didn't go back to the same spot every week. And that so you asked me like what lessons did I learn from her over my time into to sell something with love, to
mm,
create great product that is not a knockoff or something you wouldn't
right.
use yourself, and most importantly is to create premium value for
Mm,
your end clients,
yeah.
and that's what we've done. I mean, I've written books with those same concepts in mind. I've coached other advisors and financial firms with really a lot of those same principles in mind, and my company treats our clients the same way. Because my grandmother wanted to give people a one of a kind experience,
Mhm.
something out of the ordinary, a treat in their routine day and routine life. So she wanted to give a one of a kind experience to them.
And so with that, my analogy to that, right, would be going to that very upscale restaurant on a holiday, or on a birthday, an anniversary, where you're going to spend more or maybe a lot more, but this is special and it's a fabulous, wonderful place.
I would agree with that solely, and so I I those are things that you don't learn in business school. I got a master's of business, and we didn't learn about that. We learned about cost cutting mechanisms and budgeting and quantitative analysis and economics, supply and demand. But there's a level of things that are taught in the real world, like from
Mhm.
simple people like my grandmother, that help companies,
Mm.
leaders, and other people in the industry create something that solves real problems for people every day.
So this is a very interesting question. If someone, let's say, even a retiree, has a fixed income, they're not working anymore, they have a fixed income, and you want to teach them about quality. So let's use that example with your grandmother, that you're going to they're going to invest in something, whatever it is, that's maybe higher, but exactly what they want. It's high quality. However, in doing that, Mike, they're going to have to watch something else because it could be a strain a little bit, but it's exactly what they want. How do you help them deal with that psychologically, mentally, and also with their pocketbook?
So you can have anything in life, you just can't have everything. With every choice you make,
Yeah.
there's an equal choice that you cannot make if you are really going to live within a balanced life. Um, I mean, especially somebody who's retired, you can have a lot of things, but it may mean the end result may end up being a lot of credit or a built up credit in your life that ultimately you don't pass a legacy on to the next generation. But Patricia, you if you're on a fixed income, if you have abundance in your life, you can have, and it doesn't matter who you are, you can have anything. You just can't have everything.
Very interesting. So what you do is you probably advise your clients, what is it that you really want? And what is
Well,
it that you're willing maybe to give up?
it is because we all have things in life that if the want is so great, we can find
Mhm.
margin to be able to get it. Financial, there's a lot of things in our life that we pay for on a daily basis
yeah.
that we don't use. We have become a nation, a people of consumption, and it's almost like we have to have more of the same things. I mean, like for instance, we used to just pay for cable. We would go to the cable company,
Oh,
and it would have 20 stations on it, and we were content. Now, if you don't have 7 streaming services with access to unlimited content, both from the past, the present, and then even that hope for the future new show, like Bridgerton just came out. Another season of Bridgerton just came out on Netflix. And, we keep Netflix because we love Bridgerton, but we also keep HBO Max because we love, Only Murders in the Building. I think that's Hulu actually. But like we've grown attached to these certain entities. So now instead of having one bill to the cable company, we have 7 streaming services. And so we are a
plus the
people
bill, plus the
that's
bill to the cable company.
that's right,
It,
that's right.
it ends up being such an expensive bill.
So we are a people of consumption,
Yeah.
and when
Yeah.
people really and that is like how the one size fits all world wants us to be. That's how media companies wants us to be, banks, insurance companies, restaurants. One size fits all means you have everything, but you don't have that special thing in your life.
Mhm.
And being one of a kind, being unique means that you're going to have to give up some of this, some things of the world in
Mhm.
order to really feel enjoyment and excitement
Mhm.
in your unique life.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's true. So when you work with your clients, and you talk about turning retirement into endless Saturdays, but into something purpose driven, which is exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about now, having that purpose. How do you look at that? Do you say to them, do you sit down with them before you even look at a number and say, what's important to you?
Yeah, you have to have a vision for what you want in life, and we have a framework for building a vision for retirement, and we call that retirement chi. CHE. Chi in the Far East world is about inner peace, being one with nature, being present where you are. But retirement chi is about who you're going to spend time with, your community. What is your purpose going to be? Your health. Because without your health, you really don't have wealth. And then we talk about what your income's going to be. So we build purpose into retirement by talking about community health and impact. Because when we have those conversations holistically, it brings structure to what your money can do for you. Patricia, we all have. I'll be 50 years old in 2026. I've been fortunate enough to live this long in my life, and hopefully I can live at least many more years to come. But really, for the first, 60, 65 years of our life is very structured. Like we go to school, we go to elementary school, middle school, high school. We're fortunate enough to go to college. Then we get into our occupation, which most people in their occupation work 40 hours, 45 hours a week for 40 or 45 years, and then we get to retirement. And then what is retirement? It's unstructured free time, or at least that's the concept of it. People that go into it and say, I'm just looking forward to sitting in a recliner. I'm looking forward to vacationing. They lose this thought about uh, just because you're retired, you're not dead. You still have so much to give, and what retirees have to give is a lot of times far greater than what the younger generations can give, because retirees have wisdom and they have assets, and many of them have time. And when you combine wisdom, assets, and time, the impact is exponentially larger than what you could have done in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And so, yes, when we sit down with pre retirees or retirees, we have to build a vision first for retirement, because without vision, we're just going to wither away and we're going to perish.
You talk about in your work and in your book The number one expense that's sabotaging your financial future. I can't guess what that is. I was trying to think about what it was, but time, all I can think of is time. Is
It's
that right?
actually it's actually taxes.
Ah, okay.
The biggest expense. See, we're all so programmed right now to just pay taxes that we just it's just become so ingrained in who we are. Taxes are the biggest expense you'll ever pay in your life. And a lot of people don't plan to pay less in tax. They just take whatever they've earned throughout a year, and we're in that in the first half of 2026 here, where people are gathering up documents. They're taking it to their tax preparer. The tax preparer is going to put together a historical document, last year's numbers, and they're going to tell you, did you pay enough or did not? Do you owe more? But taxes are something proactively you can actually pay less of if you understand that the tax system is just structure and it's loopholes. And there's a lot of ways for retirees, for pre-retirees, for entrepreneurs, for W-2 employees, for even the younger generations to save in taxes so that they end up keeping more of their hard-earned income and their hard-fought, hard sought-after assets.
Hmm. And that's what you do is you talk to them about what are the ways they can save or work around this or
Yeah. So, like, once we start working with somebody and we've built that vision, that retirement sheet, then we immediately go into tax planning. See, the one size fits all world, or the most financial advisors, financial professionals out there, Patricia, they immediately go to investments. Like, let me show you how to get more return on your investments. Nope. We
Mhm,
actually we actually talk about how can we lower your expenses? How
mhm,
can we look at your
mhm.
taxes? And in those taxes, how can we actually create some breathing room where, as opposed to paying Uncle Sam as much or your state, how can we actually reduce that amount?
Mhm. Okay. All right. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about um, financial freedom. We'll talk about return of investment rather than
Mm-hmm.
return on investment. My guest is Mike Milligan. He's an author and certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial, a firm dedicated to helping retirees and new retirees build unique financial futures. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com and Voice America Media. Hi, everyone, and we are back. We are talking to Mike Milligan, who is an author and certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial. And he helps people blend unique financial futures. He really gets away from this one size fits all. And instead of these complex financial planning, which we often see, he makes it simpler. He looks at return of investment rather than return on investment. Welcome back, Mike.
It's so good to be back.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute. And actually, I'm going to ask you this question out of order because I thought of it during the break. How do you decide whether to advise a client on should they do a bond, should they do a stock, should they do an annuity, should they keep the money in savings, should they buy investment, should they have, a timeshare? I mean, they may not ask you for that advice, but how do you work with that?
Well, everybody, that question is about as pointed of a question as you can ask. And the thing about it is most people want to know the answer to this question, but either don't know how to ask it or feel that they are insulting like a certified financial planner by asking that. And this is a question that more and more people should ask their financial professional because all financial professionals have different slants,
Right.
right, for how they pick and choose investments. Just like if you go to an Italian restaurant or a steak restaurant or even like a Mexican restaurant, they would all have steak on the menu, but they're all going to cook the steak in a little different
Yeah,
preparation.
absolutely.
Financial advisors and financial planners have different selections. And when clients like Patricia, when you ask me that, they should be able to answer it directly. And so like my answer would be is the investment choices we make are about the future you want to live.
Yeah.
So if through the analysis of building your vision statement out and looking at your taxes, we uncover that your biggest fear in life is running out of money. Like you are mortified. You can't sleep at night because you're worried that you're going to run out of money. Well, a solution like an annuity or bonds or dividend stocks would be would be would be ideal for your investment portfolio. If in the discovery phase we found out that you're more concerned about the legacy you live to your kids and grandkids and you want to give as much to them as possible, well then maybe that's a growth focused
Mm,
stock portfolio
mm,
because the time horizon is longer.
mhm.
And then maybe it's for like a single woman who has nobody to fall back on if the stock market loses value or if the precious metals market
Mhm,
loses value.
mhm,
And for there, maybe it's more diversification,
mhm.
spreading your assets around many things, maybe growth stocks,
Right,
dividends, bonds,
right.
annuities, CD savings. Maybe it's everything broadly diversified.
So
So
you're
that
so
that
you're not as risk adverse. I mean, it's
correct.
safer.
Correct. And the market, we have come to you know there's more options for educating, more investment options available to people now than there ever has been in
Mhm,
the history of financial
mhm.
services. There's more. Just because there's more though doesn't mean you need to have everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
we all can agree that everything from CDs to Bitcoin, every
right.
investment between those two have attributes. It's
Right.
just do they have attributes that are going to give you the life you want to live?
And what is your risk tolerance, as you said? But this
Right.
this also reminds me of food and of nutrition because we all have to eat. There are so many programs out there, low carb, high carb, no fat, I mean, vegan, but I mean, it just goes on, probably 20. Right? And
Right.
so how do we pick? Well, the person looks at you and looks at your body type, what's going on in your body, and then suggests something from there. It's similar in a way because we all need to live and make money and know how to use it, but we all have different lifestyles and needs.
We do.
So,
And the interesting part about like my philosophy is not right for 100% of the people out there. My philosophy is good for those who don't fit the mold of traditional financial advisors, those who are looking for something more customized, who are looking for an experience more tailored to their life. If you want a low fee, no cost, just whatever the market does, well, there's options like Vanguard or some of the big solutions out there. Charles Schwab, Fidelity have, you're going to get exactly what the market does with no fee. And if that's what you want, those options are out there. But if you want a customized approach, one that blends tax savings, retirement income investments, a long-term care strategy, and legacy, well, then we're gonna pick investments and we're gonna pick solutions that kind of tie into your mission for all of those.
so explain the difference then. That ties into this statement. You work on return of investment instead of return on investment. What does that mean?
So it should be the assumption should be natural that you are going to get positive momentum in the growth of your money. That's return on investment. Everything from again CDs to Bitcoin can have positive return on investment. The key though is like how do we get the money back to be used? How do we get return of our money? Like, and how do we get it in the most tax advantaged way we possibly can so that when we take money out, we're also not splitting it up or dividing it between Uncle Sam, the state we live, and our desires. And so we should assume, again, that we're all going to get positive growth in the money. So return on investment is assumed. Return of money in the one size fits all world is never assumed because most advisors in the one size fits all world want to keep as much of your money with them as possible so they can continue to earn fees and build profit for their firm. But we are more geared toward what can you do in this life? What experience can you have while you're living with your money that would bring more joy and excitement to what you're doing?
Right, right. And that, I think you said, comes with really understanding what people's purposes, what their goals are, what their needs are, short term and long term.
It is. I mean, I was just recently we were meeting with some clients doing an annual review and open communication, open dialogue about what the performance of investments are, what the money allows you to do, what your financial plan has accomplished for you is so important. But in that context, we had helped this client and her husband design a way to take her three kids and nine grandchildren to Disney World.
Wow.
It was a $50,000 trip
Wow.
for a couple who he was a public school teacher. His whole career he was a public school teacher. She was a nurse. So these are not doctors, lawyers, big business owners. These are people who earned money and saved it the long way. And the $50,000 expense for them was a big number. But we proved to them over 2 years that from the growth of your money, returning it back to you, you can have this experience. And in our review, we were talking about how was Disney World. We ended up spending the whole time on how was Disney World with the family. In the consensus of that meeting was when can we do that again?
Wow.
Not how much did Nvidia stock grow this year. Not how
Mhm.
much did we earn because remember return on investment is assumed. You see your balances either going up or going down. But those experiences, that Disney World experience with their family, the happiest place on earth, spending that dedicated time with her adult kids and her grandkids was more magical for them because
Mhm.
they actually got to see firsthand what did my money allow me to do to live? And they're
Mhm.
saying, when can we do that again?
Isn't it a great story? Yeah. Yeah. But I think, and I want to ask you this, Mike, I think, then we're going to go to break. I think a lot of people have things about money, maybe because of our parents and our grandparents in the Depression, where, don't spend, don't be a spendthrift, be careful. I mean, I know people who would listen to that and say, oh, that's ridiculous. How would anybody spend that much money on frivolous? I mean, you hear that. And yet, what we're talking about more today is people spending their resources on experiences and memories more than things, right? More than the big thing or the big toy or whatever it is. So I don't know if our consciousness is changing around money, or what do you think?
Well, it's all comes to the psychology of money. And if you want to, when we come back from the break, we could talk about money scripts and like people's first memory of money and really talk about like how we're realizing where those deficiencies come
Mm,
or blockages come with money. We're dealing with them now through financial therapy. And when you deal with them with financial therapy, it then frees you up to this whole new world of living in the present versus living in fear of the past.
yes. Yeah. Excellent. I am talking to Mike Milligan, who is an author and certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial. Mike, what is your website?
It is just mikemilligan.com. So if you want to go see where, the books I have written, the coaching that I do, and the company that I work with, and even my podcast, Ideas by Mike Podcast, you can go to mikemilligan.com. Yeah,
Milligan.com.
that's correct.
All right. And Mike's firm is dedicated to helping pre-retirees and new retirees build unique financial futures. You're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamericamedia.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamericamedia.com. And today we're talking about money, but not just money. We're talking about money and values, and that it's a need, right? A basic need is to feel secure and safe. and money does that for us. That's our currency in this life. My guest is Mike Milligan. He's an author and certified financial planner and founder of One Oak Financial, a firm dedicated to helping pre-retirees and new retirees build unique financial futures. So, Mike, let's talk more about how your financial plan can become a love letter to your family. But with that, let's talk about the whole psychological script around money. When we're talking about love letters, that also has to do with our value around money. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
and so when we talk about the context of scripts, so money scripts all the way to the love letter, we're talking about really our whole life in that. Money scripts are written in your youth. They're what you see other people, adults, people that are either mentors or family members or heroes of yours, how they spend their money. And then those scripts, their usage of money gets like written in your financial DNA. And you ultimately take those with you into through your formative years into adulthood, and a lot of those things, until you recognize them, they become your patterns and how you spend money. So, like if you grew up in a household that was always in debt, always overspent, always threw down credit cards, you're probably going to do the exact same thing. If you grew up in a family that always ate at home, always never had the ability to order like a Coke out at dinner if you did go out, you're probably going to do the exact same thing. Those are money scripts, financial DNA. But those can be through conversation with either a financial therapist or even a therapist, at that matter, for instance. Those can be unraveled a little bit so that you can then create your own life plan. I affectionately call that the one of a kind financial plan, uniquely yours. But the one of a kind financial plan, as you build it, ends up with this love letter at the end. And we talked a little bit like how we talked about an experience of building a love letter in the last segment when I was talking about the client who through their financial planning wanted to take their kids to Disney World, or the grandkids. Well, see, a financial love letter is these. It's either your family traditions, shared experiences, or wisdom that you leave as a living legacy while you're alive, but also when you pass away. It all comes back, like Patricia, for me, like the greatest love letter I've ever read in my life. Like, I'm married. Liana is absolutely an amazing spouse. I love her. She knows how to feed into me. But I will tell you, the greatest love letter I ever got in my life was when my grandmother died. And it was a handwritten note from her that said, "You always loved your grandfather's pocket watch and his knife, and I wanted you to have this." Now, he passed away between their two deaths was 26 years.
Wow.
She had held on to that for 26 years because, to be honest with you, I was not ready for it during that time. She left some other well-written letters along to me during that time that was just that I knew that you could make it. It was just this positive affirmation of things. Love letters, a financial love letter, by the way, is a will and a trust. It's an organization document, right? That says to my family, I love you enough that I'm not going to leave my finances disorganized upon me passing. But I love you deeply enough that I'm going to make sure, in my case, for instance, the collared sandwich recipe is never lost in my family. My mother is absolute. I talk about my grandmother a lot, but my mother is. She was a high schooler when she had me. She's also one of my heroes in life. She battled cancer in her middle 30s. She has been just a continue sign of resilience and grace in my life. But one of the things she did at my request is she started this summer camp called Granny Cooking Camp. Granny cooking camp was my mom getting together with my two daughters, and she would for 6 years they got together at a beach home, and all they did all week was cook family recipes. They learned the broccoli casserole, the oatmeal raisin cookies, those little details that my mom had that she would put into like these recipe books and give them at Christmas. And they did it for 6 straight years. I have two daughters, Grace and Paige. And if anybody ever listens to my podcast, they know I talk about them all the time. Grace and Paige. Grace, my mom told me one time, Grace really loves to eat, but Paige really loves to cook. And that would have never been discovered if it wasn't for the Granny Cooking Camp living legacy, right? That she put together for my family. See, we get so wrapped up, Patricia, in what a stock is and what a bond is, or how you deal with taxes, that the financial advisory world forgets that we're dealing with real people.
Hmm.
We're dealing with people who have a Grace and a Paige and a Tammy and Elizabeth and a Walter and a
Hmm.
Jonathan, my brother, who have these families, who have these stories. And when these stories become living testaments because you have money to do things and you have money that you're free to use, well, you end up with happy clients. You end up with clients who live full experiences. And then you get, as an advisor, as a financial planner, I get filled up daily from my clients and how they're living their life.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Tell us about how people can find you and how they work with you.
That's a great question. I mean, I currently live in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Remember, I told you that taxes are the biggest expense that people pay in their life. Well, as a resident of San Juan, I pay lower taxes than you would anywhere else in the United States. And if I'm going to say tax are the lowest expense, I have to live that out. So I live in San Juan. So a lot of times we meet face to face like this. We meet on Zoom meetings. We meet in which allows me to meet with anybody in Alaska or Hawaii or Maine or Washington State, California,
Mhm.
Florida. I stretch from island to coast to island, if
Mhm.
you think about it. Puerto Rico to the East Coast, all the way out to the West Coast, all the way out to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I
My,
can meet
Go
I
ahead.
can meet people where they are. And part of that meeting with them is like the connection piece. And so people just have to connect, and that's at like MikeMilligan.com. Do you remember the book Mike Mulligan and the Steam Shovel?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great children's book. The only difference between that Mike Mulligan and Mike Milligan is that my last name is spelled like Gilligan.
Ah, we'll remember that like Gilligan's Island.
That's
Mike,
correct.
what would you say, and it may not be one thing, but what would you say is the major thing or major things that when people come to you, they're concerned about?
They're most concerned that they haven't been heard.
Hmm.
If people will just be honest with themselves right now, if they were to think
Hmm.
about their money and be honest, have the people you've talked to about money in the past really heard you?
Hmm.
Or are they doing what they do for everybody who walks in the door? And
Right.
because when people tell me they haven't been heard, I'm like, I hear you. It's like retirement deja vu for me all over again.
Yeah.
I hear the same thing from the same people over and over again, and it's that they haven't been heard. The other things, if people would really be honest with themselves, Patricia, is that they really don't have a tax plan. They really don't have a retirement income plan, and they probably are taking on too much risk in their investments
Hmm.
because they're investing the money the same way they did when they were working.
Hmm.
And somebody who's retired needs to be more concerned about the return of their money versus the return on their money.
Right. But I think the main thing you've talked about today has really been know what you want, know what your purpose and your values are, and find a person, a financial planner, a planner, any professional you work with, whether it's a lawyer, a financial planner, or a doctor, who you resonate with, right? I mean, if
I
you're fighting with them and it doesn't feel right, then go with your gut and find somebody. and work with somebody who is aligned with you.
I would agree with that. Your intuition, some people call it your gut, folks, but your intuition is normally right. When you meet
Yeah,
people for the first time, they always people always say first impressions matter. And
yeah.
if you don't get the warm and fuzzies, at least on the first impression, if there's something that feels off with that relationship, take that as a sign and maybe do a little bit more due diligence. But in the big thing, find somebody you trust, somebody you connect with, somebody who aligns with where you want to go in your life.
Mhm. All right. Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on, Mike, and you're very sincere, heartfelt. You gave us a really different take about money and about understanding what it is, that it's a basic need, and how do we align our values and our purpose so we can enjoy our lives, right, and be happier. So it's MikeMilligan.com, Mike, Milligan, rhymes with Gilligan.
That's
All
right.
right. And thank you so much. Really appreciate you being on the program.
This was an absolute honor.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Stay tuned and stay on the line for a minute, Mike. All right, folks, that wraps up this edition of the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show. To find me and get my newsletter, which I sent out yesterday, I sent out today, February 2nd, usually the first day of the month. And in that newsletter, I share all of the guests. So you get to see people like Mike and you get to read about who they are, and you can listen at any time online, and you can listen on the day that we air the show on Mondays. Also, if you'd like to get your positive message out, which you see us doing every week, and you'd like to develop your own podcast series, I've interviewed over 6,000 people in my career, and I would love to help you. So contact me to help you put all of your things together so that you can create a dynamic podcast series. And that's Patricia at patriciaraskin.com. Remember, stay healthy, stay happy, get the support you need, and know you can make your dreams come true. Until next time, I'm Patricia Raskin. Bye for now.